So the duck flaps across the screen and I can shoot it by clicking the mouse on it and it'll fall. Here's the mouse cursor. It looks alright, but it would be much more fun and more in keeping with the game if we had a sort of gun sight cursor here, a custom cursor, and we can do that. The first thing we need to do is to import an image. Now, I've created an image in Inkscape and exported it as a PNG, so now I can import it as a new asset. Here it is in the folder, which is my source graphics. I'm going to import it into the models folder. Now, when you import an image, it comes in as a texture, and the textures can be used for a number of different purposes down here, and one of the purposes is as a cursor. So I'm going to select that as a cursor. Now, I set up this reticule to be exactly 80 pixels wide and 80 pixels tall, and that's going to be important, as we'll see. The next thing to do is to create an empty object. Let's apply those settings. Right. Yep, it's a cursor. And this is going to be the game controller. And as always, the main purpose of a game controller is to contain a script. So I'm going to create a script. I'm going to call that game control. Right, the next thing to do is to edit that. Let's see if it's ready for editing. Let's put it. Still important. Make sure it goes into the scripts folder. Keep things tidy. Right, let's edit that script. Right, here we go, game control. So what we'll need to do is to import that new texture. So I'm going to import it as a texture 2D, and I'm going to call it reticule. And in the start, I'm going to change the cursor to display that reticule. So we've got the cursor object, and that's got a method called setCursor. And we're going to set it to the reticule. Now, the next thing it wants is a hotspot as a vector 2. Now, the hotspot is the actual point on the cursor which determines where we're clicking on the screen. By default, it's the top left corner because the arrow points to the top left corner. In this case, we want it to be right in the middle of the reticule. As I said, it's 80 by 80, so the middle spot is going to be 40 by 40. So I'm going to create a new vector 2. And that's going to be 40 pixels across and 40 pixels down. And the other thing it wants is the cursor mode, which is just going to be auto. Auto. Right. We're going to do a lot more with this game controller, of course, but that should be enough to set it up as the reticule. So just check the code, and that also saves it, remember, and that's fine. And back to Unity, and then it should show the texture 2D box here in a second. There it is. So I now go to the models folder and I'll put my reticule in there. And all being well now, instead of having the normal pointer cursor, I should have my gun sight. And there it is. Didn't manage to shoot the duck though. Right, you can use this to convert any shape into a cursor. and when of course we move off the game, it changes back to the normal cursor.